All right, we are back for yet another interview in Duelists and Frontières, and this time we have a very, very special guest with us. Someone who I actually thought I would never be doing this with. I mean, it's strange how life works, and I'm really appreciative how it sometimes works out for us. But I'd like to take the time to introduce to you the former NW 2.0 and Knights of Pontiac Hardcore Champion, as well as 2023 Duelists and Frontières Hall of Famer, ZombWarrior. Welcome, ZombWarrior.
How's it going?
Pretty good. It's been a rough couple of days, but, you know, being here has kind of made it worth it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, want to just get started and everything, or?
Yeah, we can start right away.
All right, so how did you get involved into Duel Monsters / Yu-Gi-Oh, and when was it?
I guess my interest in it kind of started originally from the anime, and then previous friends between like 2010 2011 got me involved, and then I met your guys' group and started playing from there, and then took a hiatus for a few years, and then have kind of come back to it over the last couple of years.
Gotcha. What was your first card purchase, if you remember?
Card purchase? It was a booster pack from like one of the original sets. Specifically remember that one because I pulled a Red Eyes Black Dragon out of that and traded it for 2 common cards because I was only like 8 or 9 years old when I pulled those.
So a Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon pack, that's pretty good.
Nice.
And an ultra rare on your first pull too. Holy cow, man.
I traded it for 2 commons.
Yeah. Who were the first people that you played the game against?
That's a tough one. It's probably my cousins, and then guys from our group. That's about it.
Gotcha. I'm going to pause this for just 1 second. Right, and we are back, so let's get to the next question. What was the first deck you ever constructed? Or do you remember?
I think the first fully functioning deck I played with was that zombie deck I ran for the longest time.
I know you also had a dinosaur deck. That was the first one that me and Draga played against.
Yeah, that was probably the first one then.
And it was actually very good for a dinosaur deck back in the day.
I recently on Master Duels, I saw the Drac Meteor card, and it just brought back a ton of memories. I forgot how good that card was.
And then you also have the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno now, which that thing's just insane.
Yeah.
So next question, how did you get involved with the Pontiac Duelist League?
Blagana and Verlupo introduced me to your guys' group in 2010, I want to say, or like the beginning of
2010.
Yeah. And then,
actually, it would have been 2011, come to think of it. Yeah, it would have been 2011 because he joined in May 2011 and then exited 2012.
Senior year of high school, I think is when I started. Yep. Yeah. So that's when I got involved with the league. And then...
What were your thoughts against dueling against Kalar Draga for the Knights of Pontiac Hardcore Championship on October 28th, 2011?
I'm trying to remember that one.
That was the first title win that you ever had, was that Knights of Pontiac Hardcore Championship.
Was that when she was using the
Heroes?
The Heroes deck, yeah.
It wasn't quite as good as it later got, but it was starting to get good.
Yeah. I remember specifically how good that was starting out.
And I was kind of shocked just because it's like, we have this new guy here, and first one in, he wins the hardcore title. I mean, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. And I know the deck got really, really, really good later.
The dinosaur deck was good. Yeah. I just remember that you were very good at, piloting that thing, and it's like, okay, maybe we got something here. Yeah. What were your thoughts on your first duel against me that same day? And that would be the duel that you unfortunately lost the same title. Hardcore title, unfortunately, you don't hang on to that thing very long.
Yeah, I know.
I was using my main deck at the time, my Harakathy, Dark Magician, Exodia deck, and everything.
I don't know. Those memories are kind of fuzzy because it was, so full of excitement and anxiety to be playing against people. Because usually all my practices are against just one group of people.
And you didn't have anyone else to give you advice outside of that one group?
Yeah, Blagana and Verlupa were the only people who gave me any advice. So getting to play against new people was almost overexciting. So a lot of those memories are pretty fuzzy.
I just remember on my end of things that you were able to put a lot of pressure on me early in the duel. Like, I had to mount a pretty sizable comeback in order to win that thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were able to put that much pressure on my deck that early on, it was very impressive.
Yeah, my playstyle in trading card games has always been very aggressive, front-facing aggressive.
But hey, it worked for you and everything. It's just I have a deck that's built to weather the storm.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on your first promotional PDL video, throwing down Mantis' Knights of Pontiac Hardcore Championship belt?
That was so long ago. Back then, I wasn't too into doing the video stuff, but you know, I've come a long ways in terms of like leaning into that aspect of it, especially since I started, you know, doing Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing stuff, LARPing, stuff like that. It's a little easier for me, and I'm a lot more confident in myself. So doing interviews, video, stuff like that, it's a little easier for me. So
I just remember the reason that we needed to do it is that Mantis, as you know, was moving out to California, and we needed a storyline explanation for, hey, he's not here anymore. What's the fallout from that? And the perfect thing was the belt that he had given to Blagana storyline. It's only fitting that the guy who is with him throw it down, discard it, and say, this is not our championship. The Knights of Pontiac are dead, which, no Mantis, there is no Knights of Pontiac, sadly. Did it surprise you upon your return to the Pontiac Duelist League that Blagana had named you his new tag team partner over his then-girlfriend, Ibmasayo? So we're fast-forwarding from October 28th, 2011 to December 2011.
At the time, it didn't surprise me. We were really close then. I don't know why he would do that, but we were really close.
Well, I know that she did not attend that event, but to me it's just like there was also the problem with Lord Anubis no-showing that same event and Verlupo no-showing that same event.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of deck chairs being rearranged and everything because it's like, oh crap, we are down 3 people. One of them we knew about, Ibmasayo, but the other 2, it's like...
Yeah, without the other 2 showing up, it makes sense that he would have picked me, since, like I said, we were so close then. So.
I get you. But at the same time, though, want to bring it back after you had left in October, like I think the next day after you had left. He had called me over to his house middle of the day, like right after I got off work, and I went over and it's like, hey, something wrong? And he's like, I don't fucking trust him. And then had a conversation about, unfortunately, you, and I was like, oh, he's going to screw me over, blah, blah, blah. Just be careful around him and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that's really weird. But...
I don't know.
My perspective was it was just unusual that for someone who he, air quotes, doesn't trust, he's putting a lot of faith in as a tag partner, but I think it was just him, you know, sadly playing, you know.
Yeah. It's hard to say.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the triple threat tag team duel of you teaming with Blagana against myself and Kayla Draga against Executioner and Savril?
I don't remember that duel at all. A lot of the older duels I don't really remember. I was kind of in and out of it back then.
I get you.
Yeah.
Originally, Blagana and you had won that duel, but because of what he had done later on with the deck, selling you a completely different deck than what was promised, it ended up voiding that result into being a disqualification. So, next question, what were your thoughts on Violent Anubis and Verlupo missing the event? Because Verlupo, we had a lot of talk about coming in, being his first event, and then I just thought it was unusual.
I don't even remember that, to be honest.
You're fine.
Yeah, it was so far back then.
But as I stated earlier, some rearranging had to be done because it's like, okay, his original tag partner's going to be gone, And then Verlupo's not there, so your tag partner's gone. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh boy. What were your thought process on the Extreme Elimination 11 promotional videos? You had me, Lord Anubis, Executioner, Kayla Draga, Blagana, yourself, and Savril, who all did them. Or do you remember?
I don't remember those ones either.
Okay. But they were pretty straight on the nose. The only one that was taped ahead of time was Nubis's, but everyone else did them at Blagana's apartment that day, and they were just short little, things to promote the event and everything. What were your thoughts on meeting Savril for the first time?
I liked him. He seemed like a likable person. He was fun to duel against.
That's synchro deck.
Yeah. Which is funny that you say that because I've really been into synchros lately. So,
the results of Extreme Elimination 11, which we're going to get into right now. The duel started off with Hollywood Big Boss defeating Executioner on the 6th turn. Then on the 13th turn, I ended up eliminating you. I eliminated Blagana on the 14th turn via Exodia, which unfortunately I had no choice to use Backup Soldier when he Harpy's Feather Dustered my field, and it's like, I have no choice. I have to activate Backup Soldier, and he's the only guy in. Kayla Draga defeated me, and then Kayla Draga defeated Savril. What were your thoughts on that duel?
I'm trying to remember. Was Kayla Draga? That's when she used that Amazonian.
No,
that
that's still her hero deck. That's after it had gotten the upgrades. Because
Yeah.
Legendary Collection 2 had come out and a lot more support had come, and that's when she finally got her Rainbow Neos and that stuff.
Where did that duel take place? I'm trying to remember.
Blagana's apartment. That's
Okay, that's that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember. That was my first Extreme Elimination.
Yep, it was. And I just wish that there had been a little bit more in the duel that you had been able to show off, but unfortunately, I had a good board, and yeah, it wasn't until she got in that she just totally broke it. What was your reaction to Kayla Draga winning the Pontiac Duelist League World Championship in that duel?
I was happy for her. Everybody that I got along with, I was always happy for whenever they'd win a title. I never really was jealous of anybody winning a title. I think the only time I was upset was probably the first set of duels I had when I got the hardcore title
And then
lost it like 30 minutes later.
Yeah, and you had started out with such a good board, and then the fact that I was able to come back, that was, what was your reaction to the incident after the elimination of Blagana during the duel?
I was clueless. I didn't even really pay attention.
Yeah.
I knew Blagana was upset, but
like all of us were just chill and everything, and he locked himself in his room, and it's like, what's...
Yeah, that I remember, but I remember at the time we were close enough to where I was upset for him, but I wasn't like to the level of getting verbal or anything like that.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the NW 2.0 versus JWO storyline at that time?
I'm trying to remember.
That was when Blagana and Violent Anubis broke off from their respective factions, teamed up against NW 2.0, and it essentially abruptly ended because Anubis was no longer contributing at the time to Ibn Masayo switching sides storyline and essentially giving NW 2.0 the information on JWO, leading to their faction essentially dissolving.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's the group Blagana and Verlupo recruited me into. The only reason why I jumped on board with that is, once again, because we were friends at the time, so I was kind of just following their lead with that.
What were your thoughts on Hollywood Big Boss and Blagana's dispute over changes made to the Pontiac Duelist League rule set? January 1st, we banned Chaos Emperor, Dragon, Envoy of the Beginning, Blackluster Envoy, Dark Magician of Chaos, and Sorcerer of Dark Magic in the same extra deck, and Blagana refused to change his deck and extra deck when we had made the changes, and he had been outvoted 3-1.
Yeah, with that, any of the rule change issues that I had were fueled predominantly by just being friends with Blagana and Verlupo, anything they were really upset with, I in turn was loyal to them at the time.
Yeah.
So I was upset at whatever they were upset. I didn't even really pay attention to what I was supposed to be mad about back then.
I get you. But it just, on my end of things, it's like you're outvoted 3-1. It's like, and you're unable to make a reasonable excuse because back in the day, popping all 4 of those monsters in one turn, that's 4 monsters for little to no cost, especially when you have card combos like Painful Choice, Dark Arm Dragon, other stuff like that. You fill your board.
And nowadays I understand it quite a bit more on the voting process because I've been part of, communities now.
Yeah.
When you're in communities, it's everybody's either votes on it or everybody agrees on it. And if one person says no and you got 15 other people saying yes, then obviously you're just going to have to deal with it or play with a different group.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on Blagana creating his own faction, EWG, Enigmatic Warlord Guild, on January 2nd, 2012 with yourself, Verlupo, and Corvus?
Same as the JWO. I would confuse the two. There were so many...
Yeah, because you weren't in the JWO group.
Yeah, it was
officially
the Enigmatic Warlord Guild or whatever it's called. That was the group that I was recruited into. Statement is the same. It was just because I was friends with them and just followed the group.
What were your thoughts on him creating his own championships for EWG? The EWG Championship awarded to himself, Tag Team Championship awarded to himself and you, and then Television Championship he awarded to Corvus. Did you have any thoughts on that, or not really?
No, that whole faction segment is kind of just a blur. I was just along for the ride with that.
What were your thoughts on Verlupo being brought into PDL? He was supposed to debut December 21st, 2011. Missed the event, didn't debut till January 21st of 2011. So almost a whole month later until he debuts.
There was a lot of back and forth going on back then. I know there was aspects of, hey, let's go back to PDL because we want to play with the group. Hey, join PDL so you can have insight and almost like espionage bullcrap.
Gotcha.
There was a lot of that kind of kid stuff going on.
Gotcha. I had a feeling that's what some of this stuff was, but...
Yeah, that's why it was a lot of back and forth for that year period all the way to 2012 and 2013 because, there was even times way after that, when we were still friends, Blagana and Verlupo and I were still friends, and I was messaging you trying to, get back into the group. It was a lot of the espionage stuff.
Gotcha.
And now that I'm,
away from it
and almost 30, I'm like, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on Blagana vacating his half of the EWG Tag Championship and awarding it to Verlupo on January 21st, 2012? Did you have any thoughts on...
I didn't have any thoughts on that one.
Yeah, because you weren't even there at that point in time, because you had left after the December event and you didn't come back till a little bit later than that. But I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts, Okay. What were your thoughts on Blagana's EWG Championship duel against yourself and Verlupo later that same night? I unfortunately didn't see the duel, but I remember you telling me after that he refused to defend that title against the both of you ever again. So, anything you remember about it?
Just the fact that we were never, before we stopped associating with each other, we never dueled for that title again. That's the only thing I remember.
I just remember what you had told me in the past is that you both came so close to beating him.
Yeah.
That he got so upset at that he refused to put it on the line against you two, which is ridiculous.
I think back then we just got upset. Every time one of us lost, one of us won, there was always heated moments like that. He also had that, I think that was the deck he was using during that duel, was the Horse Black Flame Dragon.
Yeah, which
combo.
He had eventually modified that one out.
Yeah.
Started taking aspects of my deck and putting it in his. Instead of having Jinzo, he would do the Dark Magician for Sorcerer of Dark Magic instead, and have the Egyptian Gods in the deck, which,
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the February 18th, 2012 Pontiac Duelist League event? I'll go over the duels. PDL World Tag Team Championship. Myself and Executioner versus Kalar Dragon, Ib Masayo. Tag Team Unification, Kalar Dragon, Ib Masayo, winning as the PDL Tag Champs versus yourself and Verlupo with the EWG Tag Champs. PDL World Championship Duel, Kalar Draga versus yourself. NW 2.0 National Championship, Executioner defeated me. Juggalo World Organization Championship, Verlupo versus Ib Masayo. EWG Championship, Ib Masayo, you faced her. EWG Championship, Blagana faced you. And then EWG Championship, Blagana faced Oceana Flame. And regrettably, unfortunately, because of the issue with him selling you a different deck than the one that you were competing with at that event, it voided all of your duels, and Verlupo was using cards in his main deck that were not a part of his deck, that were someone else's property, and once he broke off, he lost the ability to that, so he's technically dueling within a legal deck as well, as is Blagana, not removing those offending cards from his deck. But what were your thoughts, all that aside, of the event and everything?
During the duel, I was just upset that I had lost, because I specifically remember losing.
You beat Kalar Draga, but then the result got overturned after you had come back.
Yeah. My thoughts today are, I wish I would have had a different mindset back then in terms of allowing whoever was refereeing to look through my deck to make sure it was legal prior to dueling.
Well, the biggest issue is that it's not so much that the deck wasn't legal. All the cards were perfectly legal. It's the fact that when he sold you that deck, he sold you a completely different deck.
That's what you mean.
Because the biggest issue is, I had known, hey, you're supposed to buy this deck off him. Okay, money is going to change hands. There's going to be a financial transaction. It will be your property. You're just saving up money because you have college, all this other shit to get through, pay bills, all that, adult stuff before you can purchase the deck. Then you buy the deck, and he sold you a completely different deck than the one you were playing with. So that is what caused the action to be voided on this, is that you bought a deck from him, but it wasn't the same deck. Now, if he would have just swapped out rarities, then that wouldn't have mattered, because the card list would be the same.
Okay, so was the deck legal, or was it...
The deck was legal for play. It's just that because you were playing with a deck that was Blagana's property, and when he sold you the deck, it was a completely different deck than the one that he had promised both you and had told me about. Hey, I'm selling him this deck.
Because it technically wasn't mine, it was his.
Yes.
Okay.
And you were supposed to be buying it from him, which, I was like, okay, he's going to buy it from him. And then when we got to Astacare after you had bought the deck, because we were hanging out with Sean, Kalar Draga's dad, and Amun-Ra and them, and it's like, oh, this is a problem because Skull Servant, King of Skull Servant, you never played any of those. And all the effect zombie monsters were swapped out for normal non-effect monsters.
Yeah.
You put a bunch of Master Kionshi and other stuff in there, and it's like... And the deck they sold you wasn't even legal because it had 65 cards in it.
Yeah.
That being said, did you have any interaction with Oceana Flame after that event? But do you remember any interaction with her at all, or?
I probably interacted with her on a regular basis, but I don't even remember who it was at the time.
Yeah, because unfortunately for Lupa had, as I said off camera, so many fly-by-night girlfriends at the time that it's like you couldn't keep up with them. Had you had any interaction, personal or dueling-wise, with Ib Masayo before this event? Had you dueled her at all?
Some practice duels.
But nothing major.
Nothing major. No.
Okay, I was just curious about that because I just got to thinking, wait a second, did he ever duel her or not? What were your thoughts on... Oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself. What was the incident that happened between you and Blagana on March 6, 2012? Because that's where you had temporarily gotten kicked out of EWG, and then he had urged me, an Executioner, and Kalar Draga to temporarily remove you from PDL.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think it was the first time for Lupo and I stopped talking to him. a lot of that had to do with back then. It was a lot of it was jealousy on my part. He didn't have to work. He was living a pretty solid life for someone who didn't have a regular day-to-day job, whereas I was struggling, trying to make it by, going to trying to go to college, trying to do all this other stuff, and it was at the time pure jealousy, but I tried to articulate it better later, to where it wasn't the fact, as I became older, it wasn't the fact that he wasn't working that was upsetting me. It was the fact that he treated me like crap whenever I got something of my own accord because I worked hard for it, or there was passive-aggressive comments like, you're lucky, must be nice, stuff like that. Just those small passive, comments just tick at you continuously until you just get sick of it eventually. But
And
back then it was definitely, teenager me being jealous of the fact that I had to work for a living and not get what I wanted.
And that was the first incident where he's like, oh, he's going to get me kicked out of my apartment. He's going to get me to lose all my stuff, all this other crap. And I fell for it, sadly. And it's like, knowing what I know after the fact, yeah.
I don't know how much power an 18-year-old with no steady career has over something like that.
Exactly. But it was a lot of emotional and psychological manipulation that both of us, unfortunately, were going through because of this person. What were your thoughts on Amon-Ra being brought into the Pontiac Duelist League by Blagana in Verlupo?
I didn't really have any thoughts on that one. I got along with...
Because I found out later Amon-Ra was actually one of Executioner's friends, too, from school and everything. So, to me, it's just like, okay, both sides know him, and he seemed to, get along with everyone. So, I was all right with it. What were your thoughts on Ibn Sayo defeating Blagana to win the EWG Championship on April 29th, 2012? And we know that he dueled using a Dragoonity deck instead of his main deck against her for that one, and he essentially threw the duel.
No real thoughts on that.
No
one.
real thoughts.
I don't remember that one. Yeah.
You weren't there. They were the only two present. Yeah. I just heard from her after the fact. Hey,
yeah, we never. If we did talk about it, it was petty crap that I don't remember. Yeah.
What was your personal relationship like with Blagana at the end of April 2012? Because I know that he was throwing a fit again, because with how my schedule was going to be, I'm flying out to Washington State in June. And we can't push back Extreme Elimination to when you're supposed to be there, which is in June, because I'm not going to be in state, which means I'm not there, Draga's not there, Executioner might not be able to be there, and a couple others, to where it'd only be him, Ibn Sayo, but she was kind of backing out of dueling, you and Verlupo. And it's like, what sense does it make when, if we do it in May, everyone except for, unfortunately, you will be able to attend, but if we push it back 1 month, it fucks everyone else's plans up. But
yeah, I think that was the last Extreme Elimination I was planning to attend. That was right after I moved to Minnesota, I think.
Yeah. But had you mended the fence from the outbreak that had happened the month prior, or?
Yeah, that happened multiple times. It was just emotions on both sides,
I get you.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the fallout of the Extreme Elimination 12 event with both Blagana and Verlupo quitting PDL? Or because I know you weren't physically there, you were in another state, but did you hear from them at all?
Yeah, I'm sure I did. There was a lot of petty trash talking.
Gotcha.
And finger pointing and a lot of, I'm just done with this. I feel like with Verlupo is a bit different, though, because he was just kind of like...
Follow the leader?
No, at that point, I think he had his family by then.
No, not yet.
Not yet?
No. He didn't have it till a little bit after that, actually.
Yeah,
in fact,
sure.
I don't...
He was kind of on his way out. So,
yeah.
I think with him, it was just, I'm done with this stuff, so...
What were your thoughts on the DERP rule set made by Blagana? Which was essentially the rip-off PDL rule set, just changing one number on the thing.
It's very similar to how his next rule set's probably going to be. It's just the same thing with a few differences. So in cards he likes, that's probably about it.
And the fact that he can't come up with anything original, he has to rip off someone else's already existing, stuff, which is the one thing I've noticed. He never takes or makes something wholly original of his. He always tries to copy someone else's thing, maybe change it a little bit, and then try to pass it off as his own when it's not. Like, why did you and Verlupo return to the Pontiac Duelist League 2 weeks after the above incident?
That was one of those espionage moments. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, we could get information on this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your reasoning for moving to Pontiac at the time? Because it was right after this that you had moved. I think your uncle or something had a used secondhand store in the Vermilion Plaza at the time, too. So was it just because you would be able to get a job here or closer to friends, or?
I think I was just looking for an apartment at the time.
Gotcha.
That was right before I moved the first time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, that was before. No, that was the second time because I moved to Minnesota, moved back, moved to Minnesota again, and then funny enough, 10 years later, I moved back again.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on Mantis dating Ibn Masayo in July 2012? Or were you even aware of that at the time?
I was aware of it, and I was being pointed in that direction again by Blagana.
Because as far as I'd known, she had moved all of her stuff out of his apartment as of April. Like, I had no indication or anything saying that, hey, she's still with him.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, with Mantis and Ibn Masayo, I wasn't the first one to find out.
Yeah.
Amun Ra knew before I did.
Yeah.
But, were you surprised by it, or?
Not really. Back then, I wasn't. Now, especially, I'm definitely not surprised. But back then, I wasn't too surprised either.
Okay, but I was just not sure if you knew about it that early, or if it was later that you found out, or.
No, I found out through Blagana that she had moved in with Mantis. So.
Well, they hadn't quite moved in yet.
Well, that started dating. Yeah.
Yeah. But they were being very quiet very early on. It wasn't until a little bit later that they became a bit more public with their stuff. What were your thoughts on meeting American Outlaw and Amun Ra for the first time upon your return to PDL?
I liked American Outlaw quite a bit. He was cool.
He was like everyone's dad. I mean, he would get people in the right mindset that they needed to be in with, if you had any problems, you'd be the guy to ask and everything. And Amun Ra, what were your thoughts about meeting him?
I got along with him for the most part when I first met him, and then kind of just distanced myself later. But I did that a lot with pretty much everybody as we went along. It was me and Verlupo kind of just, because I was always a follower back then. So I was pointed in the direction to go at the behest of Blagana. If he hated somebody just because we were friends and I was loyal to him and we were like brothers, I hated them as well, type of thing. So with Amun Ra, he kind of just disappeared, so he was off my radar. So
I get you. Yeah. I think we covered this one already. What was the issue discovered when you purchased your zombie deck from Blagana? Discovered it was a completely different deck that he had sold you than promised, and it was illegal with 35 monsters, 15 magics, 15 trap, no extra deck. And all the monsters were either Skull Servants or zombie normal monsters.
Yeah.
Was there even a Red Eye Zombie Dragon in the deck that he had given you? Because I don't think that any of those were even in that one.
I don't remember. I know there was 2 decks we were working on, one of which was a Skull Servant deck, but as far as I know, my original zombie deck was what I was supposed to have purchased, and it was like $55 or something like that I paid for that.
And then you got to Astacare with us, went to do the demo duel, because it's like, hey, I want to check out your dueling, make sure you haven't lost a step. And then it's like, what the hell is this? And I just remember your face after seeing your opening hand. You're like, kind of like, this isn't quite right. And then we broke the deck down and we're like, oh, this is a problem. And I remember having to go to my house, break out my extras just to fill out half of your deck, because it's like you got no stable cards, no Monster Reborn, no Pot of Greed, no Lightning Vortex, nothing.
Yeah, it was all gone.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on defeating Amon-Ra on July 10th, 2012 to capture your first NW 2.0 national championship?
I don't remember that duel.
You don't remember
That's so long ago, yeah.
But your first championship above the hardcore that you're able to obtain legally and everything, I was pretty happy for you, because it's like, Amon-Ra, he's able to go toe-to-toe with Executioner.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're able to beat him, it's like, oh, this is excellent. It's like he's getting back to where he should be. His deck is in shambles, but he's able to take chicken shit and make chicken salad. It's like, if I could just get a hold of some of those cards, and I worked so hard because when Blog On Edit invited, because of Verlupo, us over there, I went to trade a bunch of cards from him, and the cards that I tried to trade out of him were the cards that were from your original zombie deck, because he had pieced it and had it in one of those tins. So when I got the cards, I remember I gave a bunch of them to you, but then afterwards I discovered he had taken the Dark Armed Dragon and one other card out of the cards that he was supposed to trade me.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it wasn't until later we got the Dark Armed Dragon back, but I was able to, and I was willing to do it, because it's like, hey, you got screwed and taken advantage of, sadly. And that was always kind of my mindset, was to help other people. I can't get to a higher level of dueling if everyone's dueling at basement level. I need to bring them up so that way I can make myself better and I can make them better at the same time. What were your thoughts of teaming with Verlupo against PDL World Tag Team Champions Executioner and Amon-Ra during July, August, and September of 2012?
I don't remember that duel either.
There were multiple duels that you had him. That was essentially, during that entire summer, that was the whole program we were going with, was you two against Executioner and Ra. And unfortunately, you never won the tag titles from them. They had him 122 days. But I just remember you pushed them so hard. And they were really good duels to watch. I don't remember a whole lot about them. I just remember I really liked watching the four of you play against each other. What were your thoughts on defeating Verlupo to win your second Knights of Pontiac Hardcore Championship on July 23rd, 2012?
I think that was when Verlupo was using the Ubel combo that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a tough one. That's a hard card to get past.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on being awarded the vacant NW 2.0 National Championship on July 24th, 2012, and your subsequent title defenses against Verlupo? Because what had happened is myself and Kayla Draga dueled in Washington State and everything. I had the Intercontinental, she has the World, I won the World, I have to give up the Intercontinental. Now normally number one contender gets the Intercontinental, but to me it only made sense because he's going to be getting a world title shot. I give it to you because I know you and Verlupo are dueling a lot, not just with your cards, but through your online thing that you were using at the time too. So it's like, hey, they're going to play against each other. Let's give it to the people who are, putting in the work.
Yeah, I think we were just practicing a lot, so every time we had an official duel, it was just tough playing against each other.
What were your thoughts on Verlupo defeating Amon-Ra to win the Pontiac Duelist League World Championship on August 28th, 2012, and the storyline and promotional videos that were released after the duel?
I don't remember the videos, but I remember being happy that he won that.
I was happy at the time, too, because it's like, finally, he's thrown off, being just this mindless puppet, and now he's doing what I wanted him to do from the word go, which was essentially taking charge, being focused on his own career, helping others, but at the same time, his own personal career of building himself up and being someone who can carry the group. What were your thoughts on Verlupo's subsequent 74-day Pontiac Duelist League World Championship reign and title defenses against Amon-Ra, Kayla Draga, and yourself? Amon-Ra was the first two, Kayla Draga was September 10th, and then you were the opponent after Kayla Draga.
I don't remember any of that.
You don't remember any of those title defenses? Okay, that's fair. But I just remember from my records that you were the last person who he defended the title against before he lost it. What were your thoughts on Verlupo illegally bringing Blagana to a Pontiac Duelist League event on September 22nd, 2012? What had happened earlier that day, you and Verlupo had came over to my house, trade cards with me and Kayla Draga, and I just remember my mom saying, hey, who's out in the car there? And I'm like, what is she talking about? Who's out in the car? And it was Blagana who was sitting in your vehicle. And then when we got to the library, he was there, and it's like, oh, we don't want any of this shit. And
Oh, I forgot that happened.
yeah, I know that Verlupo was really big on having him back, but you at the time were telling me I don't want him back in because he's still stealing from Walmart. And
Yeah, it was just all that was just ridiculous teenage stuff still going on. It's the ridiculous back and forth of instigating you, him instigating me instigating him instigating you. It was just instigation 2.0.
what were your thoughts on Verlupo wanting to hold a vote to reinstate Blagana? Now, myself, Kayla Draga, Mantis, Amon Ra, Savril, you and American Outlaw voted no. Verlupo and Executioner voted yes. However, I found out on the forum, which we were doing the vote on, your account vote changed from no to yes. So I was wondering, did you ever change your vote, or did someone else change your vote for you on that?
I don't remember any.
You don't remember, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But my main thing was like, hey, he's still stealing. He made a big talk about Ion Drake making a stealing run with Verlupo at Walmart because he had shown off all the Battle Pack ones he had stolen.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, he's still doing the same thing, which once he gets arrested, what's that going to do to all of us?
Yeah.
It's like, that shit's going to roll down to every single one of us. We cannot have that. That's where I was coming from. Mm-hmm. And not to mention, Mantis had a job at Walmart. What would that do to him?
Yeah.
And that's what my main mindset is that by bringing him back in, that's the wrong decision to make because he's still making bad decisions. Let's try and make him make the right decisions for once, and obviously he doesn't want to make the right decisions ever. What were your thoughts on your third NW 2.0 National Championship reign, holding the title for 58 days?
I don't remember that title reign either. Oh, it was so long ago. It was like...
You're all right.
Yeah.
But you were awarded the title because of a vacancy and everything. Mm-hmm. And you carried that thing really well. That was your most successful reign at the time. You did very well during that run. Do you remember why you were unable to attend the Extreme Elimination 14 event? That would have been the one right after Blagana's mother had passed away.
I believe I was living in Minnesota at that point.
Okay, because I know that just before then you had been in Illinois and then you missed it for whatever reason.
There was one Extreme Elimination I couldn't go to at all because I was working and I was out of state at the time.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense. I was just curious if you remembered. Next question. What were your thoughts on Blagana announcing he had won the enigmatic Warlord Guild King of Duel Monsters Championship on January 11th, 2013, defeating 313, T3, Z, and Forgotten?
I don't know who those people are, so...
I had a feeling because Messiah told me that all those accounts on his forum had the same IP address as him.
Yeah, he has a habit of doing that still to this day.
Yeah.
Where he'll add momentum to his following by making proxy accounts.
Yeah, I had a feeling that's what it was. What was the incident that happened between Blagana, Verlupo, and yourself on January 18th, 2013? That was what I was told, the fight that happened between you and him. Because you had an argument at Verlupo's place.
Oh, yeah. That was just some...
And then he tried to throw fists with you outside of his apartment, and you stopped him, and then he...
With the Verlupo fight, we were roommates at the time, and it was just too much testosterone and drinking in one spot, basically.
Gotcha.
We made up like the same exact day.
I was talking about the fight that you had with Blagana, though. Not so much with you and him. I did know that you two did have an issue, but it got repaired really quick.
It's hard to say. We were always back and forth. It didn't help that I was so much younger than Blagana. Like, there's no reason why we should have been friends in the first place. You know, I became friends with him when he was, I think he's like 4 or 5 years older than I was. I was 16 when I started hanging out with him. 17, 18, 19, 20. He was in his 20s when we were hanging out. So
I get you. Now I have a couple of questions which aren't on there. You could just say yes or no to these because after that fight had happened, Verlupo had called me and everything, and he just unloaded on the guy. It was either that same night or the night after where you're like, hey, we're done with him. He tried to throw fists with me. I don't want to ever see him again. I don't want to have anything to do with him ever again. And then Verlupo called me up either after you two had both talked with me or the day after, and these are some of the things that he had said to me. Verlupo testified that no duel took place between him and Blagana the night of May 3rd, 2012. He illegally relinquished the PDL World Championship to Blagana. The result was never officially recognized. He broke his PDL contract earlier that day in Extreme Elimination 12 after his elimination by American Outlaw. So can you verify whether you had known about that or not?
I'm trying to... I don't remember.
You don't remember.
Yeah.
Verlupo would testify that he suspected Blagana of cheating in his duels. I asked him to provide evidence, and he would not give anything specific to back up his claim. Do you remember hearing anything about him maybe cheating in any of his duels?
Yeah, but I suspected that back then too, but
Gotcha.
I just didn't care at the time.
Okay. Verlupo testified that he had told Blagana he would assist in overthrowing myself and Lord Anubis as owners of the Pontiac Duelist League.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so that is true. Okay. Verlupo testified he knowingly used an illegal deck that was not owned by him to compete in the Pontiac Duelist League in conjunction with the June 26, 2012 incident. As a result of his information, all title reigns by Verlupo and ZombWarrior before July 2nd, 2012 were null and void. As a result of illegal play action, this information also disqualified Verlupo as winner of Extreme Elimination 12, nullifying his win of the title on May 3rd. Also disqualified eliminations of myself, Kalar Draga, and American Outlaw in Extreme Elimination 12 by Verlupo. And I just remember asking him, with that information, what's that going to do to you and ZombWarrior's title reigns? Because it's like you're eliminating one of your world championship runs. You're eliminating your tag title run. What's the point? And it's like, he's like, it'll mean more when we do it for real. And that gains so much respect for me because he's like, I don't care about them because they don't matter. I broke the rules. I did it illegally for this guy who was just trying to puff up his own, prestige, ego, whatever you want to say. And I respected him so much. I felt like after this conversation that he would be completely done with the guy. But as you would pretty much tell me later on, that he went back to being his buddy a couple weeks later.
Yeah. I think what it comes down to is something Blagana doesn't understand is that it's not like it's illegal, like in a lawful sense what he did, but it
goes against the rules of the group, though.
Yeah, which is a community. You're basically breaking up your relationship with a community over, I don't know if it was ego.
It would essentially violating terms of service of a website if you can look at it that way.
Yeah, which in all actuality isn't like lawfully illegal, but it's against the rules of the community, and he's breaking the relationship with the community for, like I said, I don't know if it was for ego,
personal gain, that kind of thing,
or if he was just getting a laugh out of it because he doesn't care and self-sabotages. I don't know what it was for. But.
The only reign not affected was your October 28th, 2011 Knights of Pontiac Hardcore Championship reign, because it was done with the dinosaur deck that you still own. That's the one that you dueled initially when you came back to PDL after the whole incident happened. American Outlaw promoted to winner of Extreme Elimination 12 because he was the final legal competitor in the duel after Blagana's elimination. Same day also, Verlupo testified that Blagana was competing with an illegal extra deck containing banned combination of Blackluster Envoy at the beginning, Chaos Emperor Envoy at the end, Chaos Sorcerer, and Dark Magician of Chaos. It was confirmed in a tape duel against Lord Anubis on January 19th, 2012. So can you verify that one at all? That he was playing with a illegal
those cards were in his extra deck?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw them. He used them all the time against me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure that he wasn't removing the three offending
the
cards.
The only saving grace I could possibly give him, which I don't suspect because he's not an idiot, he's relatively intelligent at times, is the fact that he might have thought, like, oh, these cards are allowed to be in my extra deck, but I just can't use them during the duel.
No, they're not allowed. You have to make the decision before the duel begins to remove the three offending cards and set them off somewhere else.
Side, yeah.
Did you know that Amon-Ra asked to leave the Pontiac Duelist League while still PDL World Tag Team Champion and Executive Officer late January 2012?
I did not know that.
Okay, so don't need to worry about that one. What were your thoughts on defeating Verlupo to capture your third Knights of Pontiac Hardcore Championship on February 28th, 2013?
I don't remember that duel either.
Okay, but I just remember that was one of the ones that you would call me up and say, hey, I won the title from him. It's like, oh, congratulations. Good job, Ryan. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was really happy about that. What were your thoughts on Mantis establishing the Knights of Iowa on May 10th, 2013 with Ibn Masayo, Sabigo Hakusho, Ren Hakusho, Kenzu, and Luna?
I think 2013 is around the time I started to completely distance myself from PDL.
Gotcha.
I was on my way out at that point because that's like right before my birthday. So
gotcha. Were you aware that the start time for Extreme Elimination 15 was supposed to be at 4 p.m. on May 14th, 2013, and then got the phone call for Verlupo to start the event at 11 a.m.?
I don't remember that either.
You don't remember? So you were not behind that part because we were supposed to start the event at 4 because Amon-Ra is getting off school because he has finals and everything at 2:30. Mm-hmm. He would have enough time to get home, get ready, get to Mantis's house because that's where we were having that one. Mm-hmm. And then I get the call for Verlupo, hey, when are we starting this thing? And it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we're not supposed to start till 4. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we're doing this at 4. He's like, we'll be gone by 4.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest regrets was starting the event early. We ended up starting at like 1-ish. Yeah. But it's like, we shouldn't have done that because then the person who it was supposed to be their last event, and I think that was more drama caused by, party outside the group. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm going to sabotage him in his final thing by telling him to show up early and, Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts on the triple threat tag team duel starting the event? You and Verlupo defeated myself and Kalar Draga and Mantis and Executioner.
I don't remember that one either.
Don't remember it. Mm-hmm. Results of Extreme Elimination 15. Hollywood Big Boss defeated Verlupo on the 8th turn via Exodia the Forbidden One. Executioner defeated Mantis on the 19th turn. Executioner defeated myself on the 20th turn via Smorgbird of Divinity. Executioner defeated you on the 20th turn via Last Turn. Draga defeated Executioner via Amazon Swordswoman to retain the PL World Championship, win the NW 2.0 National and Knights of Pontiac Hardcore Championships.
I actually remember that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That duel, I had the absolute most ridiculous WinCon idea that I've ever used.
Yeah.
My idea was, I put Last Turn in my deck. I was going to go in, steal Executioner's Dark Samorg, prevent anyone from setting cards, trip Last Turn, win the duel off of Last Turn, because anyone who has whose monster dies in that special battle phase, and that's still on the field at the end of the turn, wins the duel. Mm-hmm. Problem is, Executioner special summoned Dark Smorg 9 times in that duel. I could not kill that card to the point where I could bring it back. I'm sitting on Monster Reborn, and he's bringing it back as soon as I'm blowing it the fuck up. And I can't set my last turn or anything because he's got Dark Smorg up, and I'm doing this overcomplicated strategy when it's like I should have kept it simple.
I remember that duel specifically because Kalar Draga won with
Amazon
Swordswoman because I was really, really set on beating Executioner in that duel. And
Well, when I tripped last turn, the biggest problem with that is that Executioner was able to kill my monster. And then he was able to defeat you because you had picked Wicked Dreadroot out of your deck at the time. And I'm trying to remember if there was another card if you could have picked instead, because last turn removes all cards in our hand and field. So you only had the one monster. We both had our Herocrates up plus our additional monster. He picks Simorgh. So when he ends, Simorgh's effect activates and last turn activates. And going around the table, his Simorgh kills me, last turn kills you. Because I have to have under 1,000 life points for last turn. And then Draga just got Amazon Swordswoman and was able to kill him by attacking his Herocrates, and he took all the damage. But anything you want to say about that duel in particular?
no, nothing that I.
But you do remember it.
I do remember that one. Yeah.
All right. What did you and Verlupo do after that Pontiac Duelist League event? Was that when you were both like, hey, we're done with this, we're not coming back?
I sound like a broken record because we said it like 19 times over the course of our career with PDL, but that was one of the times where like we're not coming back. I was super upset. You know, it was a bittersweet moment because Executioner lost, but I didn't win, so I was just upset.
All right. But we had also planned another event because Amon-Ra missed this one to do one like a couple weeks later, so that way he would be able to have his last event. But you guys never had any intention of going to that one, I'm guessing. No, okay. Did you know that Amon-Ra allowed Verlupo and Blagana access to his admin account on the Pontiac Duelist League Hyperboard?
Yes.
You did know.
I knew about it after the fact. I didn't know they were going to do that.
Okay. What were your thoughts on the founding of Duelist Sans Frontières on July 27th, 2013 in Chicago, Illinois, or had you checked out on it?
I checked out at that point.
Did you know why Verlupo and Amon-Ra spanned the Pontiac Duelist League Hyperboard after Mantis was announced co-owner of Duelist Sans Frontières?
No, I don't know why they would do that. Well, they were trolling, basically.
Yeah. Because it's like, hey, Amon-Ra's wanting out. Mantis is his replacement. We have your replacement now. I'm making a public announcement. Pontiac Duelist League is partnering with the Knights of Iowa. We're forming Duelist Sans Frontières. Mantis is co-owner with myself, Kalar Draga, and Executioner. Originally, it was supposed to be American Outlaw, but he wanted his daughter to take it instead. So because he had said so, I gave it to her. But she would act as his advocate. Anything that he said that he wanted, I would treat as she said to all of us.
Yeah.
So, but you just know that they were just trolling and, you know. Why did you personally break off contact with Hollywood Big Boss after the above incident?
I was frustrated with the back and forth, and then I was also being, once again, loyal to Blagana and Verlupo. They were upset with you, thus I was upset with you.
Even though technically you and me never had anything to
really be upset about.
Yeah, exactly. Why did you attempt to reestablish contact with me in 2022?
2022. Was that the first or second time I emailed you?
That was the first.
In 2022, that was my first attempt to contact you to apologize for letting.
I know that you had tried to get a hold of me by sending a friend request on Facebook a few years prior, and I just outright blocked you after that first one because it's like, he's still attached with Blagana. I want nothing to do with that side of things.
But in 2022, at this point, it had been
9 years?
6 years since I even talked to Blagana at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I stopped talking to Blagana and Verlupo back in like end of 2016, beginning of 2017.
So that long ago. I thought it was shorter time than that.
It had been half a decade since I talked to them, yeah. But it was to apologize, make amends. I was getting ready to move. Well, I had just moved back to Illinois. So I figured, I was like, I'll reach out to communities I kind of botched and burned bridges with. Maybe I can rebuild relationships with people that didn't really do anything wrong.
Hey, I appreciated it so much because you were being honest about it. You weren't being, manipulative or trying to farm us for information. You were being genuine in your apology. And that's the one thing with Blagana. It's like he never tried to apologize for any of his bad behavior. He never tried to say, I'm sorry.
He's under the impression he didn't do anything wrong, which, that's his right to think that way. But ever since we stopped talking, I've been painted as this person who lies and tries to ruin people's lives and steal people's girlfriends and blah, blah, blah.
I just remember after you and me had that initial meeting, I checked up on some of his stuff because it had been a year, maybe 2 years, 3 years. And it's just like, what the F is he going on? Because it's like, all of a sudden, instead of, trying to rip on me all the time, he's now changed his focus to you. And it's a never-ending cycle. If he's not mad at me, he's mad at you. If he's not mad at you, he's mad on Eon Drake.
What it was is when him and I first stopped talking, he was under the impression I was trying to get him and his girlfriend to break up. And because when we stopped talking, I was still friends with his girlfriend at the time because I knew her way before I knew him. So I was still friends with her. And in the state of Minnesota, it is required by law that you seek employment. Unless you are disabled, physically not able to, or you have a valid reason. You're either seeking employment or you're seeking education, one of the two. And otherwise, it's not illegal, but you lose SNAP benefits, you lose, cash benefits, all that stuff. And I wanted to warn her, hey, he refuses to work. If they find out that someone in your household is refusing to work and has no reason to not work, you can lose all your benefits. He took that as me trying to turn her against him because they broke up for like 2 weeks, and I'd see her at the grocery store because she worked there at the time, and she's like, what do I do? And I'll be honest, I was mad at the time, and so my response was, hey, you should leave him because of this reason, this reason, this reason. That was me attempting to break them up. That was me stating my opinion. If I wanted to attempt to break them up, I would have tried a lot harder, but I wasn't actively trying to get them to break up. I was just warning her of the consequences of being with somebody like that, which obviously fell on deaf ears because they're married now. So. Yeah. Which, that's a whole nother can of worms because...
And that's not even worth talking about here because she was never in the Pontiac Duelist League, never had anything to do with it, so, yeah. But it just sucks that you had to go through that whole, line of bullshit when it was completely unnecessary.
Yeah, and he kind of counteracted that because he states that he's changed, but deleted everything he ever posted about me, kept the stuff up he posted about you, and started posting like he's this completely normal person, but someone who is actively changed wouldn't erase what they've done. That's like me. I'm a legitimately changed person since I was in PDL, and I've gone through lengths to show that. Apologizing to you, discussing with you what I did wrong. I was not a good person when I was in PDL. I just wasn't. But I was also 16, 17, 18 years old. I'm not in my almost 30s now being a trash human being.
Part of my thing was I've changed a little bit because I've started reading my Bible more, getting closer to God and Jesus and that whole thing. More... I wouldn't say religious because religion's just a can of worms that, it doesn't get you anywhere. But getting closer to the source of, faith and everything, that's my thing. Now, whether it's yours or not, then,
Yeah, mine's more centered around my own inner thinking. How do I change how I perceive the world, versus being this pessimistic person all the time. I decided to think more positively. Doing things I never thought I would ever do. Like right now, I swore to myself I would never date somebody that has a kid, and my girlfriend has a kid, and I'm having a great time living life with them. So,
who was your favorite opponent during your Pontiac Duelist League tenure?
That's a tough one.
I had a feeling it would be.
It was either Executioner or Savril.
Those are two really...
Savril is funny, though, because he is a very, very polite person. even in the midst of a duel. So he would compliment you while you're losing.
Yep.
Which is its own type of shade, which I liked. But
And he would also try and help you after the duel and be like, look, this is what your board was. This is the other moves you could have made with it. You didn't just have A, B, you had C, D, E, F. And it's like, oh man, this is so good.
And he was older than me by quite a few years, so it was like a mentor almost when I was working with him. When I duel him, it was cool.
What was your reaction being inducted into the Duelist Saints Frontières Hall of Fame in 2023?
I was surprised. I was really happy because it kind of reaffirmed that I'm part of a group again that I thought I had abandoned and would never be part of again. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't think you guys would want me back. But
I'm willing to forgive anyone if they're willing to show that they have changed and that they deserve it. That they have made positive changes in their life to become a better person. And yeah, I'm willing to show it, if someone's, genuine. And when someone's being genuine and not being, in your personal opinion, who was the best Pontiac Duelist League world champion during your tenure? You think about that championship, who is the first person that comes to mind?
it's a tie.
Go ahead.
It's between you and Executioner.
Valid arguments. Who was the best NW 2.0 national champion?
I'm not sure.
I can go over the list real quick if you'd like me to. Let's go up a little bit because 2011, which is when you would have gotten in. So Ibn myself, Executioner, Kalar Draga. Then we go to Kalar Draga and me on our one thing, Mantis, American Outlaw for a few days. Cup of coffee, Mantis again, American Outlaw. A lot of me, and
it's kind of a two-step answer because dueling against you, while frustrating, I knew kind of what to expect. It was either Exodia or some beefy spellcaster you were going to bring out.
Yeah.
Whereas Kalar Draga, it was
her hero deck has a lot of versatility.
It's utility out the wazoo, so you never know what's going to pop up. So that's why that one's so frustrating, because it's like, oh, I've solved these two problems, and then Fusion Summon, now I got 3 more to deal with.
I get you. But as far as NW 2.0 champion, who would you say would be the one that would fit that particular championship that you think?
Probably you.
Probably me? Okay. Who was the best Pontiac Duelist League tag team champion during your run?
Tag team champion?
Yep. So during your entire run, which there were a lot less, you have me and Kalar Draga, you have me and Executioner, you have Ibn Sayo and Kalar Draga, you have Mantis and Kalar Draga, Executioner and Amun Ra, Mantis and American Outlaw, Amun Ra and Executioner again, Mantis and Kalar Draga, me and Amun Ra, which did nothing with the tag titles, had them for 90 days, never defended them. Savril and Executioner had it 4 hours, and then me and Kalar Draga 187 days.
Mantis and Ibn Masayo I was pretty good friends with Ib.
Yeah, but unfortunately they didn't tag until after the fact. Yeah.
A lot of the duels I remember were practice duels. Like, we played a lot of practice duels against them. Mantis and I played a lot of practice duels.
But as far as tag champions for your tenure, I'd have to probably say Executioner and Amun Ra, because you had a 3-month program with them, and even though you never got the job done, it was just so good because they were so close. It wasn't like they were total blowouts. And then last question, who was the best Knights of Pontiac hardcore champion? Okay. So we'll start with you, because you had it. Myself, Kalar Draga. Then Mantis had it 139 days. Mantis again. Me, 2 hours. Executioner, Amun Ra. Me, Kalar Draga, Amun Ra. Mantis, There's a lot of Mantis on here.
Yeah, probably Mantis, simply because he defended it so often. He was constantly having a fight for that thing.
Constantly. And he never gives up on that thing. But let me show you who our current champion is and his win date of this title, and your jaw might hit the floor. Red Mist, September 26, 2021. And he has not lost it yet.
He's had it forever.
He's set the record. He got over 1 sextillion life points.
Jeez.
It's totally nuts. But yeah, Mantis back in the day, he was the one who completely dominated that entire scene. Now we're going to do something that you've never done before. Pontiac Duelist League report cards. So, you're going to give letter grades to all the people and tag teams that we mentioned. You can grade them on the first part, which is their dueling, and the second part, which is their personality, how you felt, assign a letter grade A through F and everything. Okay. And yeah. So let's start off with me, Hollywood Big Boss.
As far as the dueling goes, A. In the dynamic, probably a B.
That's fine, because I can be, abrasive at times and everything. Executioner.
An A for gameplay. Sadly, a C for personality. Executioner would be kind of quiet, but he's like that schemy quiet.
Yeah. Several.
Yeah. A for gameplay, A for personality. I got along with Several really well.
He's one of those guys that you can never say a bad thing about because it's just like... Mantis.
Mantis? B for gameplay.
Which is fair.
And then probably... for at the time, because I haven't seen him in years, and A for personality. I got along with him really well.
Kaylara Draga.
A for gameplay, and B for personality.
Yeah, because she can be quiet at times, and this one, God help us all. And you can choose to skip it if you want to. Blagana.
I'm going to skip that one.
Okay. So 0. Ibmasayo.
Ibmasayo? B and B.
B and B? That's fair. Verlupo.
Verlupo? A for gameplay. I have to give him an A for personality, but simply because we were so close back then.
Yeah.
And we were a pretty good dynamic together.
Yeah.
So.
And we're only talking about this time period. We're not talking about
current
afterwards. Oceana Flame.
I don't even remember that person at all.
So yeah.
We'll say F and F.
Yeah. And she didn't do that well at the event either, so sadly, Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra? A for gameplay at the time, and A for personality as well. I got along with Amon-Ra.
American Outlaw.
A and A.
A and A, okay.
I like American Outlaw a lot.
Yeah. I have yet to find a person during his tenure that, has anything bad to say about him. Pontiac Duelist League tag team report card. These are the tag teams which you would have dueled against. Myself and Kaylara Draga.
A and
A. So A for dueling, and then it's not so much personality in it. It's more or less how well we meshed.
Dynamic,
as a tag team.
yeah.
Yeah, dynamic. Yourself and Verlupo.
A and A.
A and A. Kaylara Draga and Ibmasayo.
B and B, but I think it was because Ibmasayo was so inexperienced in dueling. She didn't duel very
And
very
she
much.
was kind of on her way out at this point, too. So it's like Kaylara Draga and Mantis.
A and A, but that's because it was like pure chaos dueling.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like controlled chaos.
Yeah. American Outlaw and Mantis.
It's probably an A and B.
Yeah. Like, their dueling, I can't complain about because they were always top tier, but it's like, sometimes they were like 2 left feet. And then Executioner and Amon-Ra, last tag team.
A and A.
Oh, boy. Those two were so dominant, but I was really glad to, have you here for this. I mean, this was kind of fun to, go back on memory lane and,
I don't remember a lot of it, but like as we're talking about, a lot of it's coming back.
it'll jog some of your memory and everything.
Yeah.
But hey, I just wanted to offer our congratulations to you again on the Hall of Fame thing, because, I felt you deserved it and everything. You did a lot of good contributions to the group. And I think that, just one, minor hiccup that we had at the tail end there, it's completely forgivable, because it's like, it's not so much just you, it's outside interference that's causing you to have a bad mindset, and you've overcome it. So,
and I plan on dueling again once I get some cards put together. I'm kind of financially strapped right now.
It's all right. Take your time.
And I was wanting to kind of announce something, as if I could change my namesake, because Blagana originally gave me that ZombWarrior name tag.
Okay. So, what would you like to change it to?
It kind of fits what my new positive friend group calls me. Joben?
Joben?
Yeah, Joben.
You'll have to send it to me.
Yeah.
Do you want me to change the name of the interview?
You could make it a catchy title. Like the rebirth of ZombWarrior or something like that.
Okay. All right. We can do something with that. But yeah, send me the spelling, because I know upper lowercase, some people are very particular on that.
You can just refer to me as Joben, but it's going to be ItzJoben is what it's going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. But hey, I'm really glad that we were able to, sit down and talk out like adults and go over, your career from the beginning to, it's not the end, it's,
The rebirth.
the rebirth. It's going to be a very interesting time here coming up to see what happens.
Yeah. Got some new deck ideas. I'm probably going to play around with the zombies a little bit more, but I got some new deck ideas coming around. Synchros, I didn't understand them back in the day, and synchros are really piqued my interest on Master Duels. So
I'll need to introduce you to Alistar, because he has a synchro deck.
Yeah, I'm running junk synchrons right now.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah, I really like the junk synchrons. Satellite Warrior and Junk Devastator are really good cards.
He's running Resonator, and boy, just that thing.
Yeah.
When it goes off, it goes off.
Yeah. So, I'm excited to see what comes next.
Same here. But anyway, this has been Hollywood Big Boss with ItzJoben. Signing off. So people, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this interview, and God bless.